Hey, everybody. We are back with another podcast after, gosh, who knows how long. My name is T. Ray Trevor from Substack, but also formerly from H10 Hanshin Tigers English News. And today we want to talk to you about NPB and just give our listeners out there a primer on who these 12 teams are and who you might want to cheer for if you're new to Japanese baseball. And when I say we, that means that there's somebody else along with me. And so I would like to reintroduce to you Thomas Love Seagull, who's coming at us from the Tokyo, Chiba region. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm in Tokyo.
Awesome. So it's good to have you on the show. I know we did one right at the start of the playoffs, right? We did like a first round climax series preview or something like that.
Yeah, that was what, 5 months ago now?
I guess it would be sometime in October. So we're
Yes.
right now sitting March 7th. We don't know when this one's coming out just yet because WBC has just started and why try to steal the spotlight from Shohei and Samurai Japan when all we're doing is talking about the upcoming NPB season? But this is the format that we're going to take. Thomas, you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. You're a fan of the Chiba Lotte Marines.
I am, that is correct.
Yes. And I'm a fan of the Hanshin Tigers. So I would like to think that I know the CL teams quite well. And I also would like to believe that you know the PL teams better than I do.
I think that is a fair assessment. Yes.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to let you kind of take the reins on the PL teams, and I will do that with the CL teams. However, we're going to give each other a shot to kind of just lay out some of the impressions that we have of these teams um, based on our view from the other side. And so we're going to talk about these teams. We'll go to last year's standings, and we're going to start with the last place team overall, and then we're going to finish up. We'll go league to league, and so we'll start. Who was worse? Sorry, last year was it the Marines or was it the Swallows?
I'm pretty sure the Marines were the worst team in all of
Oh,
Japan.
sorry to hear that, but there's only one way to go from there. So yeah, so we'll start with the Marines and then we'll go over to the Swallows and then we'll do fifth in the PL and fifth in the CL and so on until we reach the top. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to set a 5 minute timer because as we talked about before we hit record, we don't want to go on forever. We do want to keep this to 5 minutes per team. That'll sit us around an hour for this show, not including this pre-program banter. And so as I said, I'm going to start with my impressions of the Chiba Lotte Marines right now. So obviously they are not an awesome team, at least by last year's standards, but they always have been kind of a middling team, at least as long as I've been a fan of NPB. I do know that they have a great fan atmosphere where the fans are jumping up and down, kind of, well, from my perspective, kind of soccer style. But definitely a very loud crew, very passionate crew. And Chiba Lotte has produced some really good players, but for some reason they really have not been able to win the pennant very much. And the other thing that I could say for sure is that they have one of the most famous managers in NPB history, especially when you talk about global popularity or renown, and that would be Bobby V, Bobby Valentine, who was the manager for several years there. So that's all I got on the Marines. Fill in the gaps, if you will.
Yeah, I will say, last year they were sixth place, but in the last since 2020, they actually were relatively successful in the PL. They were second place, third place, fifth place, and then another second and another third place. So they were A class for a few years before completely falling off
Mhm.
last year. But you are correct; they have not won the pennant. They technically won in 2005, even though they finished the regular season in second place. But during that time, the Pacific League was using MLB rules, so if you made it to the Japan Series, you were considered the pennant winner. They haven't actually finished first place in the Pacific League since 1974.
Wow, that's 50 plus years. My goodness. Okay. But they won the
Yes,
Japan Series in 2005. We won't mention who they beat and how bad the beating was.
that's another
But
podcast.
is that the last time they won the Japan Series?
No, they also won in 2010.
Okay, so they've got two in the past, well, 2 plus decades or 2 decades and a bit. That's not too bad.
No, no, it's not too bad at all. But of course, after they won in 2010, they fell right to last place in the league. So,
Don't. Ouch.
but yeah, they do have a very passionate and loud fan base. going to Zozo Marine Stadium is my favorite experience since I've been here in Japan following baseball teams. I think in the past they were a lot more rowdier. I think they have a much more sort of family friendly vibe in the stadium overall compared to a few decades ago. But I think that's common across Japanese baseball as a whole anyway.
I would say so, yeah.
And yeah, they are under new management heading into this next season. So there's some hope for the future. They did have the Rookie of the Year last year, Misho Nishikawa,
Hmm. Outfielder.
uh, outfielder, yes.
Yep.
And then on the pitching side, they have Atsuki Taneichi, who uh, made Samurai Japan's roster this year for the WBC and has expressed interest in heading to the majors in the future. But one of his biggest problems has, of course, been staying healthy. But the second half of last year, he looked like one of the best pitchers in Japan.
Nice. Anybody go from Chiba Lotte to the major leagues? Any kind of famous or well-known players?
Yeah, a little guy named Roki Sasaki.
Heard of them?
Yeah, he threw a perfect game, struck out a bunch of people in a row, set some records. But his thing also was his health. Um, as famous as he was, he never really had that big regular season success with the Marines. And then, of
Yeah.
course, his first season in LA also filled with injuries, but he did come alive during the playoffs.
And then also Hideki Irabu was from well, I guess the Orions maybe at the time, right?
I think he started with them, and then by the time he came to the majors, it was
It was the
the
Marines.
Marines.
Okay,
Yes,
gotcha. Gotcha.
he was originally sold to the Padres, and he refused to go.
Yeah, that's
He only
right.
wanted to go to the Yankees.
Yeah.
And then I remember him. I think that was '98, so I was 10. And I remember George Steinbrenner calling him a fat toad because he was so disappointed.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Hey, last thing that we want to kind of talk about with these teams is, are they comparable in any way? And I know that like it's so hard to do this, but to any MLB team.
I think if you go by the crowd, I might say the Phillies. I feel like they have that sort of rowdiness.
Uh-huh.
Um, but in terms of maybe franchise overall, maybe Oakland. They don't spend a lot of money. They try to develop their talent internally, but they don't really have the same success as Oakland. I don't know. What do you think?
Right, yeah. Well, I'm just basing this off of what I saw on Reddit, and somebody did say the Athletics. They also said the Royals or Rays, but I don't really like those comparisons. So,
I
yeah,
don't
I would
think they
agree.
fit as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's move on. We're going to actually now talk about the last place team in the Central League, and that would be the Tokyo Yakult Swallows. And so tell me what you know or what you feel about that team.
I Certainly they have the reputation as of being the Mets to the Giants Yankees. So I would say they have that little brother image in my head. I don't think they've been as successful, but I feel like their fans are more down to earth and more friendly than the Giants fans in Tokyo.
Yeah, that's fair. I would agree with that. This is a team that to me has been a real mystery over the last 2 decades or so because they seem to finish either at the top or the bottom of the standings. There's no middle ground for them. So they won the Central League most recently in 2022 and 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they won the Japan Series in 2021. Prior to that, their last Japan Series title was in 2001. But they've spent a lot of time at pardon me, in or near the cellar. So even the last 2 years before this past year where they finished in last, in 2024 and 23, they were only percentage points out of last place. So not a very well-performing team. Let's go straight to the stadium because I think this factors in. They play in a real matchbox of a stadium where home runs leave the park probably better than any ballpark in all of Japan. Um, and the result is that they have really good hitting numbers every year, but they have really bad pitching numbers. So in some ways, they're kind of like the Rockies in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't think pitchers enjoy playing for the Swallows, and it's not because they have bad defense or bad fans or anything. It's just not a good atmosphere for pitchers to be in. So, but they do have a good fan vibe, as you probably know. When the team scores runs or when they win games, they've got their umbrella dance.
That is a lot
right?
of fun. I agree. Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to see because I've never been in the middle of it. Have you ever?
No, I've seen it. I've been at the stadium, but I haven't really been in caught in the middle of umbrella dance.
Right, yeah, yeah, same thing for me. But apparently that originated way back in the day when they had very few fans at the stadium and they wanted to make the stadium look fuller. And so if they had people opening their umbrellas and moving them up and down, it would look like a great uh, um, crowd of people, even though it was very few people.
Oh, that is a genius idea. And you
Yeah,
mentioned the stadium, of course, Meiji Jingu Stadium.
yeah,
Babe
it
Ruth played
turned
there.
100 this year, right?
Yes, and it's set to be demolished in a few years. So hopefully they can avoid that. A lot of history there.
A lot of history. There is a movement to try to keep that stadium um, from being destroyed, but there's definitely momentum going against that. They are planning to rebuild that as well as the rugby stadium and other things on that grounds. They're also going to add a lot more concrete or like shopping. There's a shopping facility supposed to go up there, something like that. So kind of
Mm,
unfortunate, I think. Anyways, back to
that's
the Swallows.
mhm.
Um, Many of you would know that Munetaka Murakami, who signed with the Chicago White Sox, was a member of the Swallows. And so he won the Triple Crown at the age of 22. He's got the record for a Japan-born player as far as home runs in a season in NPB with 56. Um, who else has gone over? Nori Aoki
Mhm.
was a member of the Swallows. I guess he's still a coach, but he, as well as Shingo Takatsu, who
Mhm.
also was a manager of the team, but he was in the majors with the White Sox. So they have a few players that have gone over. Am I missing anybody?
Iwamura. He played for the Rays, I believe, and maybe the Astros, but he was there for a few seasons.
Right, yeah, yeah. Oh, and they also have the so Vladimir Valentin has the Japan record for most home runs in a season with 60. And I'm not trying to make excuses or try to discount what he's done, but playing at Jingu would allow him to hit a lot more home runs than others. But he did hit big home runs and he hit them on the road as well. So yeah, I guess those are some of the things that you would need to know about them.
What about their current star players?
Current star players, oh my goodness, do they have any? That's the question, right?
That was my. They still have Yamada, but he
Yeah,
hasn't. He's a shell of his former self.
definitely. I mean, he's a guy that hit 300 with 30 plus home runs and 30 plus stolen bases three times.
Hmm.
Yeah, but he's now, I think, 33. So the threes are rolling up in the wrong way for him now. But really, they don't have a ton. Like, nobody really stands out to me as like, okay, this is the guy you got to watch when you're watching this team. They have
Yeah.
Yuhei Nakamura on the WBC team,
Hmm.
and that might be it. Hey, we ran out of time on the Swallows. So we're going on to the fifth place team in the Pacific League. Who you got for us in fifth?
That would be the Seibu Lions.
Okay, so let me tell you what I know about the Seibu Lions. Um, in my opinion, they play in the worst ballpark in all of Japan. It's Baluna Dome, or what used to be Seibu Dome. And it's kind of attractive in the sense that it's a dome that's not really fully indoors because the walls are kind of wide open, so the wind can blow through. You can get natural sunlight and things like that. But from what I've heard, so I've only gone to a game there in May, and it was
Uh,
perfect weather, so it was great in there. But
Me
I've,
too.
oh, well, there you go. But I've heard that in the spring, the cold winds blow through and it's like freezing for fans. And then in the summertime, the dome kind of traps the humidity in there and it's just a nightmare to play there. So the other one is that they're at the very end of a train line. And so the access is not great. And to me, like that's one of the things that really harms this team is that they can't keep free agents and they can't sign free agents either. Because nobody wants to play in that place. Like if you ask me, do you want to play there for 71 games? I'd be like, nah, there's about 11 other places I'd rather be than there. So tell me what you know about the Lions, though.
I think that is fair. I've only been there once, and it is literally in the middle of nowhere, and there's nothing to do. But you probably know this, but they actually have the second most Japan Series championships
Yeah,
after the Giants. So they've had a lot of success, especially in the late 80s and early 90s. Um, they've been a very successful franchise, but they really do play in a bad location. I like the stadium. I've only been there once, like I said. I think it's a really cool setup, but yeah, location is just such a hard sell. But to their credit, um, I think Lions fans have a good they do that running cheer. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen it. It is very cool. I'll admit that. And their cheer songs are actually pretty catchy.
So I think the fans are very passionate, but it is unfortunate where they are just outside of Tokyo and they're just kind of in the Giants' shadow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, there's five teams in the Tokyo area, and I would say probably they are the least popular. Although the Marines might be giving them a run for their money. I'm not really sure about that.
I think the in terms of attendance, I think the Lions are at the bottom of the Tokyo teams.
Yeah, and I would say with passion, the Marines definitely have them beat. Well, any former stars from the Lions that made it over to the majors?
I think the most famous, Daisuke Matsuzaka.
Yeah, Red Sox fame
Mhm.
and maybe Mets infamy. Okay, yeah.
And then, of course, recently you have Imai, who just signed with the Astros,
hmm
and then
Kikuchi, right?
Kikuchi, yep,
Yep.
and Kazuo Matsui, also infamous in New York.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yeah.
So they've produced quite a bit of talented players.
And have they got any talent left on the team then?
They do. They have Kaima Taida, who just slid from the bullpen to the rotation to replace Imai.
And he was supposed
Uh,
to be on the WBC team, but got injured.
he was,
Yeah.
and Chihiro Sumida, who is on the WBC team,
hmm
another pitcher. Takizaka, who was a defensive wizard and also possibly the shortest player in Japan.
I believe so. I think there's a newer one now that's shorter, but he
Uh,
was last year. Yeah.
he's like 164 centimeters, which I think is what
5'6",
I think five
5'5".
four. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
it's very
5'6" is 168. Yeah.
so it's amazing to watch him play. And then they have a Nishikawa of their own, Manaya, who also plays in the outfielder. So they have some good players. Tyler Nevin had a big year as a foreign player. So I think they're trending in the right direction. I think
Do you
there's reasons to tune in for sure.
Okay, well, I probably still won't, but anyways, do you, do you think that they compare in any ways, or are there any similarities with any of the MLB teams out there? What do you think?
I threw down the Cardinals, I think, because the Cardinals also have a lot of World Series wins.
hmm
Um, and they haven't been as successful recently.
That's
Um,
fair.
but I think you could also maybe throw in maybe the Pirates.
That's an interesting comparison. Yeah, I could see that too.
A
So
lot
they're
of their
not like they're
success
definitely
came.
not a large market team. They're not a very popular team, but they produce talent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one. All right, we're done with them. We're moving on to the fifth place of the Central. And so in fifth place last year was the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. Tell me what you know or what you feel about them.
I feel that of all the teams in Japan, they feel the most. They feel like the team with the local pride, um, and they seem sort of like a really family friendly atmosphere, sort of working class, but maybe not the best run organization,
Sure,
but
sure.
very passionate fans.
No, I'll agree with you on that. I've been to Hiroshima to the games there a few times, and when they were kind of at their peak about a decade ago, it was no fun being at Koshien Stadium at Carp games because they overwhelmed even the Tigers fans at times. It was crazy.
That is hard to imagine because now the Tigers kind of do that to everyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, one thing that I think we need to note about the Hiroshima Carp is that they've got the longest drought in NPB. So it's a 12-team league, and it has now been 42 years since they last won the Japan Series. That was 1984. For those of you keeping track at home, they won prior to that in 1980, and I think they won their very first pennant. I don't know if they won the Japan Series, but in 1975. So they kind of have that one decade window of 1975 through 1984 that they were excellent. And then, well, they've won the CL pennant since in 2016, 17, 18. They won it back to back to back. But outside of that, you're right. Like they're a real community friendly, kind of grassroots local team. They don't go out and spend big money on even the players that they draft, let alone free agents. So they're kind of like the Lions of the Central in the sense that they tend to lose a lot of their players once they reach free agency. Not all, but definitely a lot of them. So the Carp started in the 1950s and they were kind of built, again, kind of grassroots or locally. Post World War II, it really gave that city the boost that it needed. And I really think that that's one of the reasons that they are so beloved by the locals.
For sure. That is a very important, uh, it's good to have a team to rally around. And I think the Carp serve that well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think for that reason, like it's really hard to hate the Carp, because knowing what their history is and just knowing how loved they are, but also how, I mean, dare I say, like they're not that successful. So why would you hate a team that doesn't win? Right?
Also, it's really hard to watch them outside of Hiroshima. So
Good
even if
point.
you wanted to hate them, I don't think you could.
So very true. Yeah. They are one of the reasons that they're one of the reasons that there is no Central League television, I believe. But also DAZN, which is kind of the nationwide streaming service that people
Mhm.
tend to use to watch NPB. They're the only team that doesn't have their home games broadcast or streamed via DAZN. And so that's kind of unfortunate, I would say.
I agree.
Yeah. Star players now, they've got an infielder on Samurai Japan team called Kaito Kozono, who is a very good, solid infielder, makes great contact. He led the league in batting average and on base percentage last year. He's a tough out and he's still quite young. I think he's like 24, maybe 25. And then on the pitching end, they've got a lot of talent there. I guess, oh man, like Masato Morishita is one of their excellent pitchers who's kind of slowed down a bit lately, but I really think he's got the pedigree to be one of the best in the league if he can kind of uh, step things up one notch or two.
Yeah, he was rookie of the year a few years back.
Right,
Uh,
2020,
I
20 or
think
21.
I think it's 2020. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they have a few pieces they can build around, but recently, the last two seasons, they've had really huge collapses. Um,
Yeah.
last, let's see, in 2024, they were in first place at the end of August, and then went 5-20 in September.
Finishing in fourth place. Barely.
Yes. And then last year they were in second place at the end of June, and then went 4-16 in July, and then never recovered, and finished in fifth place. So
Right. Yeah. Not not a good look for them for sure. They're definitely a team of many collapses. As far as guys that went to the majors from this team, two guys really come to mind. Those would be Hiroki Kuroda and Kenta Maeda, two excellent pitchers who had very solid careers stateside.
for sure, Maeda just came back to Japan, but he signed with the Eagles,
Yeah.
and then of course playing for the Chicago Cubs is Seiya Suzuki.
Oh, right. Yes, Seiya Suzuki as well. Okay. Well, we almost had the perfect segue into the Eagles there, but now it is time to talk about the Eagles. And so let's get at it right now. I'm going to start with my impressions of this team. Um, I would say that they are a team that kind of tries to compete with the big teams out there when it comes to spending, but they're just not very smart. I think that the manager, Miki Tani, right? Is that his name?
uh,
Miki or Mikitani, one or the other. Anyways, the
yes,
Rakuten owner, the owner of the big conglomerate, he interferes too much. So maybe a kind of a Steinbrenner type in a way. Um, Gets in the way of the managers, gets in the way of the front office sometimes, and it just ends up being really cluttered, and they don't succeed near as much as they should. They're also the newest team out there, so they've only been around since 2005. So they're entering their 22nd year of existence, I guess. But even though they've got an okay vibe at the stadium, they're still not a super popular team, and I don't even think their games are well attended. But I'll let you fill in all the blanks that I missed.
I think that is a fair assessment. in terms of ownership interfering too much. They've, I think, on their third manager now in the last 5 seasons. So it's really hard to build up any sort of development or identity. If you're constantly changing who's in charge. The ballpark they play in is, I think, from the 50s, and the Marines actually played there. Well, they weren't the Marines then, but in the 70s.
Mhm.
Then it's been renovated obviously several times, and there's a lot of stuff around the ballpark, but it is a very old stadium. And yeah, Rakuten has, they have a lot of money, but their branding is everywhere, and I think it's kind of off-putting. So I think that could factor into why they're just not super popular. Obviously, they, after their one series title, um, they really did a lot for the Tohoku region, but recently they have not had any success.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things in that. Like they're the only team in the Tohoku region, which does make them kind of that region's team, and that's I guess why they're called the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles and not the Miyagi or Sendai. Um, but Tohoku is also one of the most sparsely populated regions in Japan, and it is also losing numbers every year,
It's
and so that is to their detriment as
it's
well.
it is true. Kana, my wife, is from Aomori, which
Mhm.
is at the northern end of Tohoku. Yeah, even just driving through there, it's very sparsely populated. But I've never been to Sendai. Have you been to Sendai?
I've been to Sendai. I've actually been to a game at the ballpark, and it was, as I said, like the game I went to was not greatly attended, but it was kind of a cool vibe. I just felt like, at least, like I was in the Tigers and done. Actually, I wasn't a member. I was amongst them, and hearing them sing the songs without any drums or trumpets was a breath of fresh air for me. And I just felt like the cheering just felt really fresh there, so I enjoyed that part of things.
I've heard recently actually that the person who used to do the cheer songs for the Marines started making them for the Eagles.
Ooh, traitor.
And if you know anything about the Marines, last year they introduced a few new songs that were not very well received.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Yeah.
So yeah, that could be maybe why the Eagles have such good songs now.
So
But
I can name you two guys that went over to the majors from Rakuten. I could be wrong. There might be more, but definitely Masahiro Tanaka,
mhm.
who had his 7-year run with the Yankees, and then also Hisashi Iwakuma, who played for the Mariners and maybe someone else, I forget. But anyways, those are the two that come to mind.
Yes, and then right now the Padres have Yuki Matsui.
Correct. Yeah.
So they've had a few, and even though they've only been around for 20 years or so, a
We
few
should
major
also mention
leaguers.
that they've signed a lot of big name former MLB players to be part of their organization to varying degrees of success, right? Like they had the Greek god of walks.
Yes, I actually saw a Kevin Youkilis bobblehead at a thrift store in Aomori,
Nice.
and I really contemplated buying it just as a joke, but then I couldn't justify it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think he played in less than 20 games for them
Yeah,
for like
not very
$2
much.
million dollars.
So other guys like Andrew Jones, right? He was
Mm-hmm.
there. He was there for their championship, right?
I believe that is true, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then last summer, they were joined by Luke Voigt,
Hmm.
who completely dominated the Pacific League in 2 or 3 months and looks poised to do it again this year.
All right.
So they do
Well,
have some power in their lineup.
let's see how they do. Well, we are moving out of the PL and going back to the Central League. We ran out of time there, and so we are on to fourth place in the Central. Those would be the Chunichi Dragons. So, what do you think about them?
I have heard them called the worst run organization in Japanese baseball.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true. I don't really have my impression of the Dragons is just like of a plain white envelope. To me, there's just no personality, nothing that grabs me. They've been at the bottom of the Central League for several years now. Yeah, I think they are a franchise that is down on its luck right now.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I mean, I've been a fan since 2014, but I think their drought goes even further back, maybe to 2012 or so, of not making the playoffs. The one year that they were good enough to be in the playoffs was the COVID year when there were no playoffs.
There
So,
there were actually playoffs, but not in the Central League,
right, yeah,
which is of course such a Central League thing to happen.
yeah, so true. Well, so when you said they don't really have much flavor or much to distinguish them, I'm going to agree with you on that. Vantolin Dome, also formerly known as Nagoya Dome, is a pretty stale environment to play in. It's about as vanilla a dome as you could come across. Recently, though, their fan support has been experiencing an uptick, which has been, I guess, good for the organization. And I personally feel like they are on an upswing of sorts. I don't know what they're going to do as far as producing runs because they've had that
Mhm.
problem for over a decade. But their pitching is excellent and has been for a while. The unfortunate thing here, and we haven't really talked a ton of baseball prognosis or strategy or anything, but they've put in this what would you call it, like a terrace or whatever, like they've brought in the walls,
Mm.
fences for home runs. And so they're going to be a more home run friendly park this year. But I don't know that they've built a roster that really is going to benefit or take advantage of that. And I think maybe other teams are going to come in and start to whack more balls over the fence than the Dragons.
Yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. I think in recent years, all of the foreign sluggers that the Dragons have tried to bring in have just not worked out. This year, they added Miguel Sano, former major leaguer. We'll see how that works out. He does have some power. But I think, yeah, pitching has been their strength. They have, Hiroto Takahashi, Yumeto Kanemaru, and then Matsuyama out of the bullpen set the Central League saves record last year.
Hmm.
So I think they should have leaned more into their pitching identity.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I'm worried that bringing in the fences might actually hurt them more than it helps them.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how the numbers do this season compared to in the past. But yeah, when you get to pitch in the confines of the dome with the really high walls and fairly deep fences, which is their thing until this year, of course, your pitchers are going to have pretty darn good numbers. Now, this is a team that has the second longest drought in NPB as far as the Japan Series championship. Their drought goes back, I guess, 19 years. So 2007 was the last time they won. And that was their second time in team history. Before that, they won in 1954. So yeah, they had a 53-year drought, which means that if they did that again, it would be 2060 before they win it again. Um, wouldn't surprise me, but I don't wish that on anybody.
No.
So, what else have we got as far as, oh, some guys that have gone from the Dragons to the major leagues? Like, not a lot there. Kosuke Fukudome, who played for the Cubs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you know anyone else that went from the? I'm probably missing somebody, but I know there was like
Uh,
Kawakami, but he's kind of a nobody in the majors.
mhm.
Um,
Last year they for the Nationals,
oh yeah,
Shinosuke
Inosuke
Ogasawara,
Ogasawara. Yeah.
but he pitched 23 games, and then maybe what 10, 15 years ago for the Orioles, Wei Yin Chen.
Ah, right. Okay.
He originally played for the Dragons, and he was in the majors for a number of years.
He was, that's right. And then he came back and played for your Marines, and then after that, he played for my Tigers.
Yes,
Yeah.
but other than that, they have not produced a lot of major league talent.
Right. I would say that probably Takahashi, Hiroto Takahashi, is
Mm,
going to go over right-handed pitcher. He's
mm.
23 years old still, but he came to the team straight out of high school and has been excellent ever since. I think he's the next one to go for that team. And after he leaves, oh boy, I mean, that leaves another big hole in their lineup. And it wouldn't surprise me if Kanemaru eventually makes his way over as well. Maybe not as quickly as Takahashi, but yeah.
Yeah, I think pitching, yeah, is definitely the easiest path towards the major league success. So if you develop pitching in Japan, then you have to kind of be worried about them leaving sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of, as a fan of an NPB team, that's kind of the hard place that we're sometimes put in, right? Where it's like we want all of our players to do well, and then when they go to the majors, we want them to kick butt so that it reflects well on our team. But I also don't like seeing our guys leaving the team, right? Even though I understand completely why they do it.
For sure, the more successful they are in the majors, that means the more players are going to try to challenge, or the more teams are going to be interested in signing them, and it kind of creates this there's still obviously a lot of talented players left in Japan, but you don't want all
Mhm.
of them to leave because then the quality of the game will drop. And
Yeah, and it's not only that, it waters down the product here a bit, but then also it kind of divides the fandom a bit because, like I would say that there's more Dodgers fans right now than there are Lions fans in Japan.
mm. I think there's more Otani fans than there are anything else, but for sure, yeah, you
Like,
see
uh,
Dodgers gears everywhere and Yamamoto, of course.
right, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's do something a little, well, not too different, but we're going to switch and we're going to flip. We'll do the Central League first and then the Pacific League, partly because the PL was the ones that won the Japan Series last year. So we'll go Central League first. Third place team last year was the Yomiuri Giants, and I'm going to let you start us off. What are your feelings about this team?
They are the most successful team in terms of championships in Japanese baseball, but they're also very conservative. I think the Tokyo Dome is famous, but I find it to be very sterile. I don't really enjoy going there, and I think the culture that they have more so than other teams, in my opinion, is the Giants' way is the only way kind of thinking.
Yeah, I
And
would
for
agree with that as well. I mean, not to call their fans fair weather or anything, but I think a lot of people are just kind of born into it and
mhm.
they kind of adopt that culture. I mean, they are not only Tokyo's team, but the team of the nation. And, that goes all the way back to the start of broadcasting of games on network TV because the only games that were broadcast were Yomiuri Giants games. And so anywhere in Japan, if you were watching baseball on TV, you're watching the Giants. At the same time, Sadaharu Oh, Shigeo Nagashima were the stars right around that time. And so not only were you watching the Giants, you were watching them kick everybody else's butts. And so that
Mhm.
made a whole nation of Giants fans. And that's just been passed on from generation to generation. And so really, this is the oldest team in Japan. As you mentioned, they're the winningest team in Japan. Although that said, their last championship, they've got the fifth longest drought in NPB. Their last Japan series was 2012. So it's been 14 years. And that is very uncharacteristic of them as far as having this long of a stretch without a Japan series title. Also, may I rub this in their faces because they're my rival team. They haven't won a Japan series game. Like they've been in the Japan series several times and they've won some Central League pennants since then, but they haven't won a Japan series game since, oh my gosh, I think it's 2013. So
Wow.
they were in the Japan series. They won the title in 2014, the Central, but they didn't make it
Mhm.
to the Japan series because the Tigers beat them. Then they made it to the Japan series next in 2019 and 2020 and got swept by the Hawks both of those times. And then in 2024, they won the Central League title again, but they didn't make it to the Japan series. So yeah, it's been since 2013 since they've even won a game, which is it's an embarrassment, but for me, it's a happy embarrassment.
For
Um,
2024 was against that was the Baystars magical run,
correct. Yeah.
and third place Baystars knocking out first place Giants.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll get to that when we talk about the Baystars history as well. Yeah. So their team right now, though, as far as star players, on the pitching end, I still think Shosei Togo is their ace pitcher, even though they've got like Iori Yamasaki, who's also quite good and was their ace last year. I think as far as raw
Mhm.
talent and maybe potentially going to the majors sooner than later, I would say that Togo might be on that list. And then as far as hitting goes, well, they just lost Okamoto to the Toronto Blue Jays, so I can finally cheer for him. Um, but um, who's their other great hitters right now? I mean, they've got some great names and they've got some guys with great potential, but I don't know if you could nail down like,
They've
hey,
got.
this is their guy. What do you think?
I think Izuguchi could be that guy at
Yeah, he's got a
short.
good average, but he's not. I mean, I don't think that he's like the. I don't know if he's head and shoulders the best hitter on the team. Like he's definitely a very good. He's a very good piece. I won't disagree
Hmm.
with you on that, but
Yeah, I
it's a
think
tricky one.
they're searching for their next star. Um, you
Yeah.
know, they have the ghost of Sakamoto is still hanging around, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. Hayato Sakamoto, the possibly the greatest shortstop in the history of NPB. They also, I mean, they have like Shogo Asano that they're hoping is going to be a superstar, and then I've
Mhm.
heard about Ishizuka. who's still, I think, 19 or 20 years old, and he could be the next great one. Speaking
And
of
I
great
think
ones,
mhm.
Hideki Matsui would be the name that comes to mind as far as someone who went from the Giants to the major leagues and had huge success. So, I mean, they always kind of have that one super bat, right? So
Mhm.
Matsui and then Okamoto, and then who's the next one?
Right. I think they're maybe trying to have they're hoping Richard can turn into that. He played better last year coming over from the Hawks, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced that
Nah,
he can
I
be
don't
that
think he's going
star.
to be the superstar. Like he might produce 25 to 30 home runs, but he's also going to whiff 200 times. So, yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So the Yankees and the Giants are kind of quite similar. And even when you look at success too, right? Like, I mean, the number of championships in recent years for the Yankees has really seen a big dive. And the same is true of the Giants. So they're kind of like that old wealth, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we finished up the Giants, and now we're going to move on to the third place team in the Pacific. And so we're talking about the Orix Buffaloes, the other local team for me. So, what could I say about them? I think that they have awesome pitching, and they have for at least the past 5 years or so. And they've been a contending team for about that same amount of time. But before that, they were awful. They're poorly managed. They were not very well loved by the fans. They play in the shadows of the Hanshin Tigers, and I think that's still true. Even though they've been a successful team, even though they've won a Japan series somewhat recently, I still think that they are never going to be as beloved as the Tigers. And I think that their history and what went down in 2004, which I'll let you get to, I think that's what's kind of preventing this team from ever really having a rock solid fan base. So, what do you think about the Oryx Buffaloes?
Yeah, I think they have sort of that little brother kind of image. They're the White Sox to the Tigers, Cubs, if you will.
Hmm.
And I didn't know, but when they were, I think, owned by Hankyu, they also used to play in uh, the same
Same
town as
city.
the same city, yeah, as the Tigers,
Yeah,
which is
Nishinomiya.
yeah, Nishinomiya. So I thought that was kind of funny. Now they're still, in the shadow. Um, and their history is, they were formed in 2004 was the merger
Hmm.
of the Braves, the Orix Braves, and
The Orcs
I'm
Blue
sorry,
Wave.
not the Braves, the Orix Blue Wave and the Kintetsu Buffaloes.
Hmm.
And I think is a very unpopular move for a large segment of fans. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be really hard for them to sort of, obviously they've had success, but I don't think their fan base is as maybe passionate as other fan bases are in Japan.
I will say though that I love their cheer songs, and I really feel like their fans are quite friendly. Like they're very nice and supportive,
I think yeah, that fits in with the Osaka image. No, everyone in Osaka is nice.
except Tigers fans.
They're just crazy.
Yes, yes. But this is about the Buffaloes, and so their most recent success was the 2022 Japan Series that they won, right? And before that, they hadn't won one as the Orix Buffaloes, but they did win as the Orix Blue Wave in 1996
Yes.
with
Yeah,
Ichiro.
yeah, Kintetsu Buffaloes, they never won a Japan Series title.
Right.
And yes, the current Buffaloes, they did win in 2022. They made the Japan Series 3 years in a row. So they had some success and then fell off a little bit the last couple of seasons, but I think they're still looking to finish in the top three this year in the Pacific League.
Yeah, well, those three straight Japan series were also anchored by three-time MVP, three-time Sawamura award-winning Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's now with the Dodgers and has created a legend for himself there as well. And so, not that one pitcher can carry a team all the way to anything, but he certainly did his part in that little run that they had of magic.
For sure. And I think it was only last season, I think that fans in America really started to understand why his greatness, right? It's really hard to comprehend uh, how successful he was in Japan.
Yeah, but he's just got such amazing command of his pitches, and he's got such an arsenal. It's hard to tell what he's throwing at any given time. Like throws off people's timing. Like he just does everything well.
Truly one of the greatest pitchers of this generation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. What other guys have gone over to MLB from either the Orix Blue Wave or the Kintetsu Buffaloes, though? There's a few famous ones.
There are. There's a guy who went by one name called Ichiro,
Hmm.
and of course, Hideo Nomo.
So the first Japanese player to kind of wish upon the major leagues by himself, right?
Hmm.
Because like the first one was Murakami, but it's not like it was 100% his choice or his desire.
Hmm.
The team kind of flipped him over to the San Francisco Giants, but Nomo said, "I'm going," right? So he was kind of the first in that respect in 1995. Yeah.
Yeah, he changed everything for Japanese players.
Well, yeah, and we heard it in Ichiro's Hall of Fame speech, right? Where his
He's
only Japanese words in the whole thing were "Nomo-san, arigato" or something like
mm,
that, right? So
yeah,
Nomo is definitely appreciated and respected in the Japanese baseball world.
absolutely.
All right, well, we hit our 5 minutes for the Orix Buffaloes, and so now we're moving on to second place last year in the Central League. That would be the Yokohama DeNA Baystars. So, have at it, Thomas. What do you know, or what do you feel about this team? They're somewhat near, I guess, where you are, but yeah, what are your takes?
They are. I've been there one time to Yokohama Stadium, and I think of all the stadiums I've been to, I feel like Yokohama Stadium and their fans are. It really feels like you are inside of a neighborhood that is lived in.
Hmm, interesting.
Other stadiums have things around them, of course, but I really feel like the area around the Baystars Stadium feels like a neighborhood that people um, are a part of. So it feels really much like a community event. The one time I was at a game there, and there's so much going on outside. So I think the people there are really positive and really down to earth. Is kind of how I feel about Baystars fans. Although I will say that I think their eyes need to get checked out because I think they have some of the worst uniforms in Japan.
Oh, ouch. No, I'm not in disagreement with you on that. I I just don't like what they're doing. I know they're trying to be more modern because I think a lot of the other teams are a little bit caught up in the classic look or just haven't really grown out of what they've always done.
Mm-hmm.
Giant. But they definitely have that vibrant, bright color, which does kind of reflect the vibrant community or atmosphere as you were talking about. I mean, they're right next door to the biggest Chinatown in all of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And Yokohama is definitely a very fashionable city. So this is a team that's really on the rise, though. They were always in or near the basement, like literally always. They had two Japan Series championships until 2024 when they went, as we said earlier, they went on that magic run, finishing in third, beating the Tigers in the first round, beating the Giants in the second round, and then coming back from, I think, 0-2 against the Hawks, right? And they went four straight and smashed them.
Yeah.
And so that, we could do a whole episode on the playoff format, and maybe we touched on it last time, or maybe we could touch on it again this coming playoffs. But yeah, it didn't really set off as much of celebration, I think, as other championships in recent years have. But let's get back to these Bay Stars. So they've got a great vibe at the stadium. They've recently kind of expanded it, made it a little bit bigger as far as capacity goes. It's still a home run or a hitter friendly ballpark. And like I said, they won in 2024. They last won before that in 1998. And star players, they've got Shugo Maki, second baseman, who's
Mm-hmm.
playing on Samurai Japan. On the pitching end, they've got a lot of decent pitching. A lot of it, though, has recently been foreigners. And so they had T. Bauer,
They,
um,
they did have Trevor Bauer. They had Anthony Kay, who just went back to the
White Sox.
majors.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Andre Jackson, who surprised everyone and went to the Marines.
Yep. The Chiba
But
Lotte
they
Marines, not the U.S. Marines, by the way.
not
Yeah.
not the U.S. Marines, yes.
Yep.
And then they added your old friend,
John Duplantier.
yes, who was the shining star for 1 year.
And then another old friend of ours, Shintaro Fujinami, as well, when he came back from the majors or
Uh,
minors.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
he looked pretty good.
He was great in Okinawa, and then apparently he walked four and beamed another guy in less than 2 innings or in 2 innings of work the other
Uh,
day. And so,
that
and
sounds like the old Fujinami. Yeah.
added in a wild pitch just for good measure. Yeah. Yeah. So, as far as guys that have gone to the majors from the Yokohama Baystars, we got Sasaki, the not Roki, but
Kazuhiro.
Kazuhiro, thank you. The
Yeah,
closer
he
for the
was.
Mariners.
Yes, actually, the year before Ichiro.
Hmm. That's right.
Um, I think a lot of people think Ichiro was like, yeah, I think people think it was Hideo Nomo, and then years later it was Ichiro. But there are actually several pitchers who were in there before him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But think I can't think of any other big name guys. I mean, Tsutsugo went over a few years back, but
Mm.
he came
Ah,
back with his tail between his legs.
of course,
And
Imanaga right now.
oh, sorry, yeah, my bad. Yeah, with the Cubs, Imanaga. So,
Mhm.
um, I mean, they definitely have talent. They have success. My take on this team, though, is they never seem to be able to figure out how to win games. Like they score a lot of runs, but they score in bunches. So they'll win games big time, and they'll really impress with a lot of home runs or power. But then they'll lose a lot of games that they should win.
Yeah, I think even the last 3 years they finished in what third place.
And second last year, but yeah, they haven't
But
won the pennant since 1998, and
and
they
their
definitely
records have not been, they've been just above 500.
yeah.
They're not like a really strong team. They do score a lot of runs. They had Tyler Austin was a big piece for them for years, but he was always injured, and they
Hmm.
they finally cut ties with him. And now they have a new manager this year, so uh, you know, and they lost a lot of their foreign players, so it's really a kind of a new era in Yokohama from this
Yeah, I
season.
I expect them to punch below their weight again this year, though. I really don't see them being excellent, although they may make the playoffs. Okay, let's get into second place in the Pacific League. So we're looking at a fresh team out of Hokkaido, out of well, I guess Kita Hiroshima City now, the Hokkaido Nippon-Ham Fighters. Fighters, not ham fighters. My take on them. I love them. They are my PL team. I think they're a very exciting city, exciting organization that's willing to try new things. Case in point, they're bringing back manager Tsuyoshi Shinjo, former MLB player for the Mets and the San Francisco Giants, for his sixth season. Am I right about that? I
Is it
believe
a
as a
sixth
manager.
season already?
I think he started in 2021. He started during COVID, so I think it was 2021. Um, whenever Kuriyama stepped down. So it was either at the end of 2020 or the end of 2021 that he stepped down. Anyways, he's been around for a long time. Uh,
2022.
okay, thanks.
Sorry
22.
to cut you off.
No, no worries, no worries. That's good. Correct me. But that's my take on the team. They're exciting, and I love them, and I think they're going to win the Pacific this year. I'm certainly rooting for them to do so. But give me some facts instead of my hot takes.
No, I think you are correct. When Shinjo took over, they were coming off of a few, three fifth place finishes in a row. And then under him, they finished in dead last 2 years in a row. And any other team probably would have fired him. And then the last 2 years, they finished in second place, made it all the way to the second round of the playoffs. So they are a very young and exciting team who I do like to try unorthodox things. They have a lot of exciting young players on both pitching and uh, hitting,
Hmm.
and they came so close to winning the pennant last year, but the Hawks just refused to die. And so I do think this is the year for the Fighters to become number one in the Pacific League.
Yeah, that was something. Weren't they down 3-0 in the series, and then they won three straight, and then they came a run short, I think, in
Yes,
the last
it
game.
was it
So
was very heartbreaking for fans up north.
definitely. So they play in the newest stadium in NPB or in Japan. That would be Escon Field, Hokkaido. Have you been?
I have not. I would love to go. It looks fun, but I know that it is also sort of similar to right now. There's nothing around the area as far as I know.
Right.
The
Yeah,
train
they're
line hasn't been built yet.
they're building it up. Yeah, I think the train line is going to be ready in 2028, so just a couple of years down the road. My take on Escon Field is it's really cool, but if you are a true baseball fan that just wants to be there for the baseball and enjoy the game, it's not the place to be. I feel like they've built it up to be a place that's enjoyable for people that don't necessarily love baseball. And if you like baseball, you'll stay for the baseball. But there's enough there that people who don't like baseball are just gonna get
You know,
distracted by the awesome food, by the onsen that's in there, and all the other good stuff.
I did read, yeah, some comment in Japanese the other day where it was like, yeah, it feels like if you're in that stadium, it's like you're an idol fan. Like there's so much going on. Baseball isn't even the main focus.
Yep.
And
Yep.
of course, they have the very famous Fox dance, which I love, even though I'm a Marines fan. But every time it's, I do the dance in the living room when we're watching games.
All
Kind of
right. I don't know
kind
if
of can
that's
tell you.
TMI or not, but we'll keep that in the show. Yeah. So this is the team that most recently won the Japan Series in 2016. They had a certain two-way player on their team who shall remain nameless.
You're
At
talking
that,
about Brandon Laird, I believe, right?
yeah, maybe, yeah,
Japan
Sushi.
Series MVP.
And then before that, they won in 2006, and I believe at the time they had a young pitcher by the name of Yu Darvish.
Yes.
So those are their two most recent championships. Do they have any other big name guys that have made over to the major leagues besides those two?
Other than Otani and Darvish,
Hard to get big.
can I think of anybody? I don't think so.
Nobody of consequence, anyways, right? Like you got like your Kohei Arihara, and you've got Kensuke Tanaka, and like a couple of guys that just barely, um, broke wind, and that was it. That was all the time they had.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. Yeah,
Yeah,
just those two. But I mean, you couldn't ask for better representation.
sure. What about who are their star players now on the pitching end and the hitting end? What would you say?
You have last year's Sawamura Award winner, Hiromi Ito,
Hmm.
uh, very likely to go to the majors soon.
I'd say so, yeah.
Then my pick for MVP last year, Franmil Reyes,
Oh yeah.
didn't come through, but he's been very dominant since joining the Fighters. And they have Gunji.
Everybody
Uh,
talks about Chusei Manami though, right? I mean, that guy's
of
got
course,
a wicked
Manami
arm.
is he's so close to breaking out. I really hope that he does. He has got a great arm. He's great defensively. He has a lot of power, but he hasn't quite
Put it all
turned into
together.
a superstar yet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, time is up on the fighters, and we're moving on to my team who won the 2025 Central League pennant. And those would be the Hanshin Tigers. But I'm going to let you have the first take as an outsider. How do you see this team?
I would say the Tigers fans are the yeah, I don't like to use this term, but I think they are the craziest, maybe the most rabid in Japan. And I think even if they're winning or losing, I think the atmosphere and energy is still there. They kind of give me a working class vibe, and they haven't been historically successful the last couple of years, notwithstanding. But the fans, they've still been super passionate, and even through the losing years, they've always been like the second most popular team in Japan.
Yeah, I would say in terms of real fans or fans that know the game and know the team and really love the team to their core, I would say they're the most popular team in Japan. Just because, as we said earlier, it's not that Giants fans are fair weather, but they're kind of just, I think there's a lot more casual Giants fans than there are. Like, you can't really be a casual Tigers fan.
No, only if you're a foreigner coming over to Japan on vacation.
Or if you're the wife of a certain blogger podcaster of the Tigers, then that's, I guess you could be a casual fan. But yeah, other than that, most people are all in on this team.
For sure.
So they play at the oldest stadium in all of Japan, Koshien Stadium, which is turning 102 years old this year. And the vibe obviously is it's next level. I mean, it's second to none really in Japan. It's got the I think it's got the biggest capacity. I mean, they're definitely the most well attended team or stadium in all of Japan. So in their 90 years, though, they only have the Japan Series Championship twice, most recently in 2023, and then also 1985, which is, I think, legendary, even outside of the Tigers circle. I mean, just knowing certain names like Randy Bass, and then superstars Masayuki Kakefu and Akinobu Okada, that trio. I mean, they are absolute legends. Um, but As far as the current team goes, I think they've got some good star power. Teruaki Sato, third base slash outfield, is a part of Samurai Japan, but he, I think, is going to go to the majors. If not 2027, then almost certainly 2028. They also have a pitcher named Hiroto Saiki who is looking to make that same move over to the majors, and so I feel like they probably won't post both of them in the same year.
They denied Psyche this
Cor-
past offseason, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
think yeah, as we talked about, it would be a huge blow for fans in Japan, but I think both players would do really well, and especially if you've won a Japan Series title, you've won MVP. Some
Mhm.
players might feel like, okay, what else can I do in Japan? I need to go to the majors to challenge myself more, and that would
Yeah,
be, I think,
absolutely.
Sato would be that kind of player.
Right. So yeah, Saiki and Sato are both the same age. Well, I guess technically it's still a few more days till Sato turns 28, 27, I should say. He's 26 still, but Saiki is 27. So again, the team doesn't want to lose both in the same season, off season, I should say.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think Sato, with his 40 home runs in a dead ball era is absolutely outstanding. And the team won the Central League pennant last year, and they're looking this year to win back-to-back Central League pennants for the first time ever. They've never been able to do that before. What
I
else could we say about this team?
they have that. Everyone compares them to the Cubs,
Yes.
uh, or the Red Sox because of the curse of the Colonel. But as you know, I am not a huge fan of that curse. It, of course, has been broken. But
Yeah.
um, and I don't think there's really any other team in the majors you could compare them to. Then, though,
No, it really does come down to those two. I would say probably the Red Sox more so than the Cubs. Um, and a big part of that would be the rivalry with the Yomiuri Giants, which is quite comparable to the Red Sox versus the Yankees.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that I think is a fair comparison. Did I already say this is the second oldest team in NPB and very little success, long droughts, the curse of the Colonel. Just look it up if you're not sure what it is, because even though it is kind of a phony curse, it's still just a beyond interesting story about
This
how a Colonel Sanders statue supposedly stopped this team from winning a Japan series for 38 years.
even though they won right after they threw it into the river. So,
Exactly. Yeah. So just to spoiler alert, they won the Central League pennant, threw the statue in the river, and won the Japan series 2 weeks later.
and then they were cursed forever or until 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. All right, man. We've made it down to our final team, and that would be the 2025 Japan Series champs. And really, let's just say it straight off the top, the Dodgers of NPB. And that would be the
Evil empire
Fukuoka.
of Japan.
Yeah, the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. And my take on them is hey, love them or hate them. And I'm talking about the Dodgers and the Hawks here. And I don't particularly love either team. But I honestly can't hate either because they're doing what they need to do to win. Like they're spending money that's available to them and they're not really bending the rules in doing so. They're just pissing off other teams' fans as well as the other owners because they're doing things the right way, right? Like if my favorite team, case of the Hanshin Tigers or the Toronto Blue Jays, just went all in and they were able to get all the great free agent players or make all the best trades and won multiple championships in a row, I'd be super happy. And that's what the Hawks have done. I mean, they have won. So 2025, before that, it was a long drought. It was 5 years. So 2020, 19, 18, 17, 15, and 11. They won the Japan series. They're the
And
boss.
14.
Oh, 14. Yeah. Sorry. When they beat the Tigers. Yes. Okay. But fill in the blanks of what I haven't talked about because I kind of went just in operations and success. But what else can you tell me about the Hawks?
I mean, I think that's really it. They've been the most dominant team in Japan this century. But even before they were bought by SoftBank, their success, the tail end of the Dai era, um, they had been, or they won the Japan Series in 2003, made it to
Yeah.
the playoffs again, 2004, and then they were bought by SoftBank in 2005, I believe. So they,
Right.
the success started before them, but SoftBank has probably the most money in Japan,
Deep
and they're
pockets.
not afraid to use it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they also play in a dome, just like what's the total? Like five or six domes? I think six domes in NPB.
Hmm.
So they're one of the kind of originals. I guess the Giants are the first, and I think the Hawks were the second or third on board. But they play in what is now called Mizuho PayPay Dome in Fukuoka. Is that right?
That is correct. It's very funny to me. PayPay is owned by SoftBank.
Mm-hmm.
So SoftBank is sponsoring its own dome, PayPay Dome, and then Mizuho, a bank, is also sponsoring it. So it's a very weird name.
But it's all about the banks. Yes.
That is
Yeah.
true.
So they originated, I don't know if we mentioned this, but they were the Nankai Hawks playing in southern Osaka. So they moved out to the Fukuoka area that's in southern Japan in 1989, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. And so they've made their home there. And as we said, in the 21st century, they're second to none, which, like, in some ways, that delights me as someone who hates the Giants to see
Mm.
that it's some other team. But of course, having been the victim of their greatness three times in the Japan series, 2003, 2014, and 2025, I don't like that part of things.
And I think everyone was happy last year. They looked like they were finished after the first month of the season, right?
Yep.
And then they just came back and played out of their minds, even battling injuries, losing key players for big stretches of time, and then finished number one in the PL and in Japan.
And they're a team also that does not post their players, and so they tend to hang on to guys. Nevertheless, though, they have had some big name guys go over to the major leagues. Currently, Kodai Senga of the New York
Mm-hmm.
Mets is a former member of the Hawks. Who else in the past comes to your mind?
Fan favorite from the Toronto Blue Jays,
Oh yeah.
Munenori Kawasaki.
How I love Canada. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Who else they had? Kenji Jojima
Yep.
and Tadahito Iguchi, I believe,
Higuchi.
also
Yep.
played for them. Yes.
Yep. For the White Sox and the Phillies, and then he came back and played for the Marines. Yes. So they have produced some excellent talent. The other thing to note about this team is that they're the only one in Japan that has, is it three or four levels? They've got a Nigun, Sangun, and they have a Yongun now too, right?
Uh,
L-
I
When
don't
I
know if they
checked,
have a Yongun. I know they have at least three levels.
when I checked, I saw Yongun. They have Yongun coaches, so they must have the players. And so what that means is when it comes to drafting, they're drafting a bunch of what are called ikusei or development players who aren't eligible to play on the top team. But I mean, they've got like over 100 guys in their organization, whereas the other teams have got a max of 70, right? So um, they're going to find these diamonds in the rough, and they've done that time and time again, right? Senga was one of them. The catcher Takuya Kai, who is now
Mm-hmm.
over with
Giants.
the Giants, is another one, as well as Makihara
Mm-hmm.
and several others like these guys that are making it to Samurai Japan, guys that are making it to the major leagues were drafted as development players. And then they're also pulling talent from other teams, as we saw when they got Kohei Arihara, Naoyuki Uesawa, Kensuke Kondo. And this is just in recent years, but they tend to pull a lot of the free agents over from other teams. Roberto Osuna as well, I think was one of them, right?
Yeah, yes, he was on the Marines actually for 1 year and then signed a big contract with SoftBank.
Right.
And then, of course, why am I blanking? From the Lions,
I don't know. Give
home
me
run,
a position.
home run hitter, first base.
Yamakawa.
Yamakawa, thank
Hosaka
you.
Yamakawa. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I almost said Hosakawa. Yeah, Yamakawa, who love him or hate him, is very popular with the fans in SoftBank. So
Yeah. So this is a team that, again, like they're not afraid to make those kind of unpopular moves of signing guys like that. And, you know, little hot take or controversial statement, but I think Trevor Bauer would be a good fit there just in terms of his personal makeup.
personality for sure, but I
Yeah.
don't think his talent is not up to snuff. I was
Not the
actually
way.
surprised
Yeah.
they let go of Arihara this past season.
Yeah. Well, he was a free agent, so I guess he made the choice himself. But anyhow,
Mm.
yeah. So that really basically does it. That's a primer on all 12 NPB teams. And if you have any further questions, of course, both of us will have this up on our Substack feed. It's also going to be on Spotify and other podcast streaming platforms. So feel free to drop us a comment or drop us a line. We will gladly answer any questions that you have about these teams. We welcome you, though, to join the NPB fan community wherever you are, whether you're in the States, you're in Canada, you're in a different country outside of Japan, or even if you're in Japan and you just haven't picked a team or haven't really latched on to Japanese baseball. Now's as good a time as any when the best player in the world is from this land. And all the talk is who's the next great guy to go over to the major leagues from here. So if you follow these teams, you can brag to your friends about being the first one to see them live at the ballpark or follow along in their, younger career or whatever. And of course, I'm not trying to encourage people to just chase the Japanese superstars that are going to be in MLB. Love the Japanese game for what it is, because Thomas, it's a different animal, isn't it here?
Oh, it's completely different. You'll see more bunts than you ever thought you would.
Indeed, indeed. Well, certainly, I think that, the people that enjoy Japanese baseball, I think that by and large, maybe dare I diss the Giants one last time? Most of the fans of most of these teams are all in. I mean, there is passion here like none other. And I think one of the reasons is that there isn't really a competing sport. Where in America, if you live in a town like Los Angeles, I mean, you've got so many options for
Hmm.
who you want to follow at any time of year in any of the four major sports and beyond, right? Whereas here, yeah, there are soccer teams. Yeah, there's basketball teams, there's volleyball, but I mean, baseball's where it's at.
It's true. Even the Marines' last place still drew, I think, 27,000 fans a game.
Yeah, and the Chiba Jets are the one of the best teams in basketball, right?
I could not tell you.
Okay.
I I only follow baseball because, like
Fair
you
enough.
said, it's the only sport that matters here.
Absolutely. Well, we hope you enjoyed listening to us and look forward to hearing your comments. And also, Thomas, I look forward to talking to you again about something Japanese baseball related because this has been a ton of fun.
I agree. Let's do it again before 5 months, please.
Definitely. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Enjoy your baseball. It's back. It's time for some regular season NPB. Get out there and cheer.